I live down that street now.
Yeah, I have a conversation. I live on a street.
Yeah, Kelly lives on one of those streets previously.
In Coastal, yeah, that's everyone.
All right. All right. Kia ora koutou. And for all the people watching online on your Friday afternoon, kia ora. If you would like to join me in the karakia tēmatanga. Whakataka te aho ki te uru, whakataka te aho ki te tōna, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, e hia kia ngā te atakura, e tio, e huka, e hauhunga, tihe, mauri ora. Kia ora. And we have an apology from Tim Baker. Would someone like to move that we accept that apology? I give it to Alex, seconded by Greg, thirded by Jackie. All those in favour say aye. I think it's carried. All right. Do we have any declarations of interest? I think it's safe to say that we have share this interest in common with the public. Although I guess if anybody has a strong view on their particular street, then it's just worth noting that it's your street. Just to be transparent, there's no big issue. This is in common with all the other people you have living on your street. So if that comes up, just worth noting. So when I talk about Radley Street, just note that that's street I live on. So moving to suspend of standing orders. So this is just so we can have a more free-flowing discussion. So I'll move from the chair that pursuant to standing order 3.5, the following standing orders be suspended to enable informal discussion regarding item 3. So that's 17.5 and 18.1. Seconded by Jackie. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right. So now we move to discussing the draft safer speed plan. Just in terms of like the basic, I think that what we have to decide is firstly whether we want to reduce the average speed across and on residential streets, or on streets in general, and then and about, because and there's a spectrum, because the speed on streets, you've got on one hand is whether you want something to be predominantly a place where cars can also go, or whether you want it to cars to move through quickly, like as a transition, or some streets, like a quiet, like a cul-de-sac being an obvious one where, say, one outside, say Tekwa Place, and where I have a friend who lives in Tekwa Place in Hoonhay, and it's a small cul-de-sac, and where kids still play on the street, and they have like people put street furniture out on their fences and that kind of thing. That's very much a place. People don't speed down, and it's quite short, and they kind of know each other. And then on the other end, say Linwood Ave or Dyers Pass Road or something, that's different. Most of the NZTA ones where traffic moves through really quickly. But in between, there are a lot of streets where it's a mix, right? So it's about, I think the decision is for each street is about where in the spectrum that is. And I think the fundamental premise in reducing speeds is to reduce the average speed, because like if you reduce my street to 40 kilometres an hour as is proposed, there are still going to be people who drive at 80 kilometres an hour down the street. But overall, the average speed will go down, because most people now don't speed. Like the average speed currently down Radley Street is about 57 kilometres an hour. So if the speed limit reduces by 10 to 40 from 50, expect the average speed to reduce by about 10 kilometres an hour. That's the kind of the premise in the changes. I think the other thing we need to bear in mind that this is not something that was decided simply by the council to do. It is something that has come from changes in the rules and requirements from NZTA. So this is the council's response to change over time. Over 10 years, the speed limits on different streets. And I guess the other thing is like, so at the moment, and you would have seen in the draft, I've suggested that maybe it should be some areas where it makes on the face of it, where it might make a bit more sense, or where the community might be a bit more enthusiastic about it. So the proposal at the moment, and I very much understand why it's controversial, and on the peninsula, the Brighton Peninsula, you have these long straight streets, and then these little cross streets, and they seem like very different types of streets, and you've received a lot of feedback about that. So with that in mind, I think it might be helpful to talk about the general approach before we talk about specifics. So I don't want to spend ages talking about this. I know it's just monologue for about 5 minutes, but if anybody has anything you want to say about the general approach that we take. Joe.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it is better to put this on pause and suggest it goes on pause until we hear what the new government have in mind for this.
I think that's a decision for the council, because we're just making a submission to the council. If the government is sworn in very quickly, in other words, if Winston Peters doesn't take ages, then there might be a swift decision. Because I'm not sure whether it was and my staff might be able to advise whether it was a legislation change or whether it was actually just a policy change, or I think it was a regulatory change rather than a policy change.
But with what is happening with the council economically, with their finances, and if the directive gets changed, we could be wasting a lot of money and not making any progress as a result. Just my opinion on.
So I'm just trying to think about what the board does rather than what the council does, because the council could well say delay it if they wanted to, but if the council is going to continue doing it, we would. So if we make the assumption, we would need to decide if we want to do it, because it's the council's decision. And if they're going to do it, we would like our input.
Whether we just put that down as a marker is that we have concern about that, but in the meantime we had to go through the process of doing this consultation. Yeah.
So I think if I was, so just speaking for me, like if I was going to put something like that in our submission, I wanted to say this, this process may be in vain if the government changes if the government changes the regulations quickly. And I'm happy for a note to go, I think that would be to simply just change those regulations would be quickly without any kind of process around it would be a bad idea.
Just put something that states that we understand that this could be happening.
And I'd be happy to put in in the note in terms of the kind of feedback, the negative feedback. So I wanted to in our kind of represented role, I wanted to be able to say that it's different from noting it. I think we could say underneath that final paragraph there that the board notes that this may be in vain if the incoming government reverses the policy / regulatory changes that the council is responding to in this regard. Cool. Happy, I'm going to do that. Yeah.
Just wonder about adding something about possibly delaying as well. So even though it may change, whether we delay and encourage the council to delay for a period of time to consider those potential changes?
I think I mean, I guess one of the easiest thing is always to not make a decision or to delay something. And the way that we've been presented the information is the whole plan. And what's being proposed is a very small amount, except in coastal, where it's a very large amount. I appreciate that. I don't know. I mean, so when you say delay, what do you mean? You mean that the council may wish to
I think if you're trying to make a decision and processes often comes soon after the consultation, reports made was sent through. If you're making a decision in a timely manner straight after it, then it hasn't given the potential new government to act as they were talking recently. And as Joe said, you're looking to spend money that's currently not in the coffers. If it's done in a short-term situation, I'm not saying to that forever, but if it's done in a short-term situation, you've got potentially thousands, if not millions of dollars that are tied up with it.
Well, so central, local government, like we can't make, like this policy couldn't have got to this point unless there was money and existing LTP for it. So like that, the funding of the decisions isn't to change the speed limits isn't an issue. I don't think it's a red herring. Like the issue is, I think, which I think that we're pointing to is that that the council needs to think about the fact that the incoming government might reverse its course, but there's still a flow-on decision that the council already will need to make anyway, is that at the moment, the council's being required to consider different criteria than it was in setting speed limits. All it would mean if the government just went back to the status quo ex ante is that the council would not have to make that consideration. It doesn't mean the council wouldn't. So I think the board's still in the same position. I mean, I don't want to, because I know personally I don't want the whole project abandoned preemptively in assumption that a central government is going to follow through on its promise. So if we could say that, so the board notes that maybe in incoming reverse policy changes are responding to in this regard.
Take into consideration with timing of decisions.
So you could say that the council may wish to consider the need for regulatory certainty before implementing any of the changes. I think I can go that far, yeah. All right, next kind of, does anybody else wish to speak to that? Has everybody had the chance to read the introduction that I've written?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we go through it bit by?
Yeah. So I'll just read out loud. So the board is supportive in principle of the proposed changes, although we have some queries and suggested changes.
Yeah. What I would suggest is the board is supportive in principle of the proposed changes where required.
Well, I think the issue I have with that is, well, I mean, in some ways you might say that's an unnecessary qualification. If you accept the premise of the proposal. So
I'm not really supportive of the proposed changes.
Yes.
Stop.
Well, yeah.
And it's, I know I've talked to quite a lot of people about this, and probably about 3% would be supportive of the change. But I want to represent the majority and just say that they're not supportive.
Yeah, and this is one of those policy dilemmas you have, because when I understand that there are a lot of people who, for various reasons, don't support the changes. I am not of the view that a lot of the reasons why people oppose the changes are really based on what the evidence says. I think we have to accept that I accept that there are trade-offs between moving relatively quickly, or from Waitai and safety, as well as so personally I would like our residential streets to be slow and quiet. Where I think that there's room for, I guess, negotiation, I think we can come to some kind of general agreement, was some of those streets, personally, I don't have a problem with generally with the speed level being a lot slower, but if we're going to get a general, I'd rather that more people were happier with it than fewer people. Jackie?
Just on that note, we're required is subjective. So what you may think is required may be different to what staff think is required. So you don't have an actual tangible answer there. You only have a we're required, which is incredibly subjective across the board. Whereas, although we have some queries and suggested changes, and saying, here, this is what we want changed, or this is what we want you to look at. Whereas we're required, they can go, well, we don't think, we think they're all required, and then just stop there. So we need to be a bit more specific in that.
So
paragraph.
Because I guess there's my assumption is that and supportive in principle means that we generally support the aims, but we disagree on some of the detail. So where we disagree, we're saying we accept the principle, but so under this, we accept the principle, but we think that there is other things to consider. Whereas if we say proposed changes we're required, we're kind of implying that we mostly don't agree.
Which is probably
which is where what you think. And I'm it's the board's decision, not so.
Yeah. Well, where I was thinking we're required to be schools and preschools and hospitals and all those kind of areas. That's required.
Yeah, but whereas for me, there are vulnerable.
Or where necessary.
There are vulnerable people all over the show, and not just in those locations.
The thing is that
Sorry, Jackie, and Alex had his hand up.
I think my concern if we added where required is that if we send this off, then council staff might be like, oh, well, marine parade's required. And that's my concern. Whereas when we talk about the fact that we're supporting it in principle, it's not about the specifics of the plan, it's not about individual streets, it's about the, I guess, aims and objectives. And then when we say that we've got some queries and suggested changes, that's where we can really hammer that out. That's just my thoughts.
So if we'll park that, I think we'll push that paragraph out, we'll park that and we'll move on to the next one. We can come back to them bit by bit. So we accept the general proposition that reducing average speed on the road will benefit all road users, motorists, cyclists, pedestrians and others, and in particular vulnerable road users. We're particularly enthusiastic about residential streets being made safer for children to play. And again, Greg?
We have so many parks around our city for children playing. In the 1960s and 70s and 80s, when you played in your street, there was 1/3 of the cars around.
Yeah.
To say the speed limit is the difference. It's not justified. To me, it's not justified. The people I've spoken to, it's not an issue. It's because there's more people living at home for longer, more cars in each household. People aren't biking to new places, and it's all that style of thing changes. Advocating for kids to play in the street, to me, I believe is a good thing to add. When we have, say, there's parks within not a huge distance from so many residents.
It's actually the older subdivisions where there's not enough small parks rather than the newer ones, because the newer ones have had to incorporate them. I'm happy to take that line out. That was just me being a bit, what's the word? Prosaic, yeah. Yeah, take that out, that's fine. I'd rather get. We endorse the above aim in principle and accept there is a trade-off between prioritisation of streets as public and communal space and moving a traffic quickly from one place to another. We also acknowledge there's a trade-off between speed and safety, with there being less room for error and more force involved at higher speeds. So I guess that's the kind of the premise of the changes and why we might disagree in particular locations. You know, it is a trade-off, and like where you set the trade-off, we set the balance is the decision. But we can't get away from the fact that the faster you move, the more likely you are to have a mistake. Yeah, faster you move, the bigger the mistake. I almost put that in there, but I thought it was a bit press. Yeah, but you know, so while the proposals have for the most part got the trade-offs right, we do have some suggested changes, particularly within the coastal ward. And I mean, you've come up with a few changes in Burwood, but it's not a whole list of them.
No, yeah, I mean, in general, I've had spoken to around 100 people, and I've had 2 in support. So a large portion of the people I've spoken with are against the changes. I live in an area where there's 40 km/h zone, and I've seen police chases through there at over 100k an hour. So to say that people are going to be safe because the general person's travelling at speed, excessive speed.
Well, if you just look at it about space and time and mass, where you've got, so when, you know, police, and I get police chases down my street too, that this rule isn't for, so those people, like there are people who travel down my street at 85 km an hour and above sometimes, and police sometimes chase them. But when you have, say you've got 50 cars moving at 40 km an hour, that's a much bigger mass moving at a higher speed. And when you reduce it, it just reduces the average danger. Like that's the premise. Like, it's not going to stop the police chases. That's right, but the police don't have to obey the speed limit, and those people fleeing from the police don't really have much regard either.
No.
You know, so it's not about those people. Like, those people are, you know, if they get caught, they lose their license and potentially go to prison anyway.
There's a large portion of people with the same white area. I never seem to catch up with any drivers. They all seem to catch up to me, and if I'm with the bail on it, but that's at 40 already.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be an interesting experiment for your area to increase the speed limit to 50 and see what that was like.
It started off at 50, I believe, and it's been reduced since the initial thing. And so Preston's Park at the moment are actively looking to reduce it down to 40. But again, the streets were designed that's that level, and they're narrow for a reason, which dictates that, comparative to the wider streets, which have much more visible space around them.
Alex?
Yeah, not thinking about the plan itself, but I think the idea is that we're not trying to get those people, as Will said, that are driving 80 k's now. Also, when people get hit by a car at 50 kilometres versus getting hit by a car at 30 kilometres, it's much less detrimental. Someone come in and brief us on this a while ago. So I just think that's something we should bear in mind as well, regardless of the plan, just that idea.
I had a friend recently, somebody from judo, who was hit crossing a road. You know, I think it's like Summerfield Street. He's crossed it. He was hit it at like somewhere between 50 and 40 kilometres an hour, and I think it might have been his judo that saved him. Actually, he went up, flipped up, and went on the roof, and like badly damaged his arm and his knee and stuff. Like, it's not getting hit at low speed, like lowish speeds is bad. So we're just moving on to the next paragraph. The board wishes to know that proposed speed reductions are controversial with some segments of the community, and the rationale of them are not well understood. Apart from reducing, and I also wonder about haven't been well. Like, when we have the discussion about this in the public, it does feel like there hasn't been enough time hasn't been enough of a conversation about how this benefits everybody. And it does feel like, I can see why it feels like it's being just imposed without much reason. So apart from reducing speeds outside schools and ECEs, there is considerable diversity in opinion. And then, so it would be good to do is well, not necessarily endorsing these views, the kind of negative feedback that the members received are, if anybody wants to add any of the to anything to that, we might as well do that now.
Can you go back up? I just want to read it.
Yep. Hi Tim,
G'day.
you're back.
Yep, finished early.
You sit over there or there. We'll be able to hear you on the microphone.
I don't want to sit next to you, Tim.
No, it's still some broke things.
So one of the things that I don't think there's been in a discussion with the community about this, it's kind of a to us, not with us situation again. Like this plan, I only came across it by accident after I got home from holiday. And I had no idea that it had to be changed to include the whole coastal area. And when I found out, that's when I started actually telling our residents what had happened. But I think there needs to be more discussion with the communities about what's happening in the communities and the reasoning behind it, and get their opinions and find out what the community want to be saying, because a lot of the communities, they want it to stay as 50, but they want it policed and they want the traffic calming. They want to get rid of the speeding cars, because at the moment there's people doing 80 in a 50k zone.
Yeah, so what the evidence says around what improves speed and reduces harm is that is reducing the speed limit, because that reduces the average speed, and enforcement. But funny thing is, it's not police cars, it's speed cameras that make a difference. So if you're introducing speed cameras into areas, dramatically reduces the speed, because you're not relying on one police officer in a particular location. People know, and as you know, speed cameras aren't very popular. And the third one is traffic, is targeted traffic calming in areas. So, and the most expensive of those is the traffic calming, because you engineer solutions. So, like, and I noticed in some feedback that's been passed on that people are like, oh, we need, like speed bumps and things like that. It's like, which is cool. Like, I'm happy, but that's way more expensive.
Not outside my house.
Yeah, well, that's funny. I wouldn't want speed cushions, but some people do, and some people are happy. And like when they're big and high, like in on Tilford Street or something, I don't think once people get used to it.
I hit that speed bump the other day.
Which one? Tilford?
Down.
Our street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a big hump in it. We don't tell anybody, so everyone's speeding, they'll go wham.
Noted. Yeah, I won't do that again. So I would be okay to add something after the not well understood, to say that this plan affects a large number of people. And whatever the merits may or may not be, it would have been better to have a more thorough consultation.
I had a discussion with a friend the other day about it.
Consultation or conversation?
Consultation.
And one thing that she mentioned was that with COVID, we had to lock down. So we were told to do it, even though it was right. We may be told that things are going to be different with council because of money. And she thought it might be too early to say, hey, this is something that we want to do from council that's going to affect everybody. I don't need to write anything down about that, but just an opinion from someone.
And I accept that when that and although I don't think it is a loss of freedom or a restriction, it's actually a moving us together to a place where we're all better off. I accept that it can, people feel like it is a loss of freedom and a restriction, and that and after we have been through something like COVID, where we weren't allowed to do all the kinds of things we take for granted, that it's particularly sensitive.
Yeah.
Jackie?
It's also good to note that people generally don't like change. So some of the people who are resisting this, it's not that they're resisting the actual, the lowering of the speed, they're just actually resisting the fact that there was a change. We had it with, like, when we talked about the big platform going up in Lincoln Road and everybody going, oh no, it's too high, it's too horrible, it does this, it does that. Now we're used to it. I'm not seeing any complaints coming through about that platform on that Lincoln Road, Clarence Street, right? Because it's changed, people resisted. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think the biggest change for people will be time, and a lot of people are time poor anyway. And the impact that will have with the inflation as well, as I signalled out to everyone, this slowdown throughout the city is going to add extra money onto all the deliveries going all throughout the city. And that has to be passed on to the consumer. So like the cost of our bridges will go up and everything. And I think people having to leave early to go to work, people having to take more time to go and pick up kids from school and everything, it's time is going to be the big one. And I think people really understand what it means to them.
Isn't the theory from the experts? Oh, sorry.
After you,
The time change for a 5K trip from 50K down to 30K is 1.5 minutes. It's 1.5 minutes.
Oh, and that's if you.
That's if you're actually going at 50K the entire time that you're traveling. So I think that the time thing, we're talking about suburban streets, we're not talking about our main roads, we're talking about little streets. It's like, it's a few minutes at most on a few kilometres.
So if you had a straight road, so if I had a straight road line from my house to here, and the speed limit changed by a straight road that came all the way from my house, and the speed limit changed from 50 to 30, yes, that would be it would, and I didn't have any lights, and say it was like a train track and the speed limit changed. That's the impact. But most of the time traveling is spent speeding up and slowing down for intersections. So, and it's different flows of traffic meeting. So at least, what the advice that we're given is that it will have a negligible to marginal impact on travel times.
With the sample that I put in here about the courier company, 200 kilometres in 4 hours, they'll be able to do it 50, whereas they might only cover 120 in 4 hours if they had to do 30. So that actually puts a big impact on a business like that.
Tim and then Jackie.
Well, you said most of what I was going to say, but just to reinforce what's been said, if they're on the Pages Road, for example, they'll still be doing 50. It's the side streets that'll be doing 30. So it's not going to be a huge amount lost, I don't believe. I was actually thinking we don't need all this, there's a lot of rubbish, and then I thought about it a little bit more and spoke to some other people and actually have a buy into it now, but not for all streets. I don't know if we've spoken about Estuary Road and places like that, the big long streets.
But even in the central city, they want to expand it in the city. And if you're buzzing around the city all day, you're stuck in that 30.
I can't drive 50 in the city, it's just too much traffic.
But, so Jackie and then Alex.
You're still actually travelling at 30K, whether it's in the city, whether it's a 50K limit or a 30K limit during the middle of the day, you're still only travelling at 30. But most of your couriers, they're not actually doing big long trips. The courier's driving like 2 or 3 houses down the road. It's not, they don't even get up to 50K in a lot of times even now.
Alex.
Oh, I just want to clarify, as a board, are we talking about our board the impact on our board, or are we going to be talking about Central City as well?
That was we could have an opinion on the Central City if we wanted to, but I suspect it would be better to, Joe was just making a point about the impact.
Yeah, no, cool.
Yeah, I don't think, I think that the courier is making a set of assumptions that are unproven about the impact on them. They have a fear, which is, I totally understand, but I don't think.
It wasn't an actual courier, it was me doing the maths. And I was in the position because I used to dispatch trucks and go out to do jobs with the trucks and thinking how much of an impact that business that I used to run would have if we changed the speed limits. And that would have a dire impact on the business that I used to run. So I'm taking it from that example.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But you also, you're not factoring in the savings on fuel and the savings on wear and tear on the trucks. You know, like it's multifactorial. Doesn't mean that I'm, necessarily right. I just think if you're making those calculations, that has to take into account all the cost benefits. So if we're going to continue, so if the board is going to support the plan, in general, I think we should still acknowledge the different concerns that people have.
Yeah.
Because it is something that is fairly controversial, which is why I've listed out those things. So I want to
Well, I'd like it listed there as inflationary.
I don't agree with you though, that it's inflationary. I think that
What does that mean?
well, that it's going to increase costs on that will pass it on to the consumer. Yeah, and there's different types of inflation too. There's cost pull and cost push. And so there is inflation is more than simply cost increases.
But also, like for the example of the lady that contacted me saying that she's a carer and she'll have to drop one of her cares each day because she won't be able to, she's struggling as it is to get from each one throughout the day. So that person's going to be out of pocket. So there's those things as well, whereas, it just is a knock-on effect and a domino effect, and it will only increase prices at the end for people that are struggling.
I mean, obviously I don't want that to happen, but I think if the calculation is just on that one factor, but the evidence we have from around the world is it doesn't slow traffic, doesn't reduce travel times on congested roads anyway. Like, for the most part, people aren't, particularly at those commuter times, aren't moving that much more quickly than what the speed limit is going to be.
Passed to Greek.
You passed to Greek? Passed to Greek.
Particularly including the bottom of there, speed reductions will lead to cost increases. Potentially.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm happy to increase and have that included in the. Sorry, did you mean included in the? Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. I misheard you. So speed limits, speed reduction lead to cost increases. Is there anything else? Any other of kind of to capture the what's the word? The general mood of and the concerns that you've heard from people you talked to in the community.
I do wonder if people still have a manual car. Is it hard to drive at 30k in a manual car? Wear and tear wise, it's something I was asked about.
I drive automatic.
Oh, mate,
It's probably easier in a manual you can stay in three.
When I go to I drive a manual when I'm in Auckland, and I just drive in three the whole time. Any other concern? All right. So the next, so the board suggests that it may aid the overall strategy to reorder the implementation of the changes to prioritise areas where there is perhaps more enthusiasm and/or where the rationale is more easily demonstrable, i.e. Woolston, Aranui, Avonside, Bromley, and North Linwood, where the boundaries between residential and non-residential are fairly clear.
What about Avondale? Oh, yeah, okay.
we've had some, there's different views on around Avondale, we can discuss it though. Benefits to the community that may increase demand for speed reduction elsewhere. So are there any other areas apart from those? So, also Aranui, Avonside, Bromley and North Linwood, where you think that in general it will be more well received?
I think the council need to ask those residents if it's and talk to them to see whether it's well received or not.
Well, because we have had, as Linwood members,
Yeah.
we have had people, when we've talked about speed reductions, a number of people in Woolston and Avonside, there's some serious issues along some of those Avonside streets. Bromley, there's been because those, you know, and bear in mind those streets are big and wide, and North Linwood, and Aranui is it's around the streets for people where that is being heavily those changes. So as long as it's done with streets for people, I think that's okay. I didn't want to, but so those are areas that I'm aware of.
But you're getting where I'm coming from about having the conversation and actually
We've been
a bit more consultation.
We've had conversations in Woolston and Bromley and North Linwood.
Yeah.
You know,
Just don't spring it on them.
Yeah, well, I think
That's covered by the earlier point.
yeah, it's covered by the earlier point. Yeah, thanks, Alex. Is there any other areas that anybody would like included in that list? Doesn't seem like it. Oh,
Not other areas, like you say, these are areas that have already been heavily consulted and are advocating for those lower speeds, so it's definitely makes sense to have those included. Like whereas Joe's saying, there's so many other areas that have been included, and they have absolutely no idea for the most part.
yeah, and I don't know for the life of me why the Brighton Peninsula has been chosen as an area as priority. Does anybody know?
someone sort of was required.
I imagine people in the area. So there's a small percentage that complain about lots of stuff, and that's possibly why.
But to try and reduce the impact of the road noise and things like that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
Is Preston's, should that be in there? Because it seems obvious.
It's 40 already.
It's 40 through Preston's, it's designated to be 40 eventually through Preston's Parkway. So
So it's already in a plan.
Yeah, I know of streets that would be by themselves, but not the whole area.
We'll come to that in the
Yeah,
next bit.
Yes.
All right, so the board notes, this is a bit we've already, that it may be in vain if the incoming government reverses policy regulatory changes that the council is responding to in this regard. Council may wish to consider the need for regulatory certainty before implementing any changes. Right, can we just sign off on that?
I can just say why Avondale isn't.
Because different things have come through, I think maybe even 3 different things about Avondale. Joe said something
Road
and yeah, people want road coming, we can say that.
Last term, we implemented just trying to slow traffic down in Avondale. And we thought there would be a few like speed humps and traffic calming measures, but more or less it was just traffic signs that went up. And as you know, Avondale come back and said it hasn't made any difference.
But
People are still speeding. So that's the thing with this whole process is you can change the signs, but it's probably not going to change the behaviour.
I took from the Avondale one that the traffic calming was inadequate and needed a little bit of a tweak, which is what has happened. So hopefully, so I think we could say when we come down to Avondale, then we can because we go suburb by suburb now.
Oh, okay.
So we'll move on from the introduction. I think that we've broadly, or not uniformly, but broadly comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So if we go down to now, I can go street by street. So I've said for Aranui, and Aranui is sort of 50-50 inside between Burwood and Linwood. There's a proposed changes which should be done in coordination with Aranui Streets for People. And I say that for 2 reasons, because 1, there's a bunch of traffic coming, and 2, there's a quite deep consultation that's going on. Anything that anybody wants to add there? No. All right, next one then, Avondale.
So, sorry, Cindy, can you remember with Avondale, was it just certain streets or was it the whole of it?
So they're proposing in the future,
Now? or
No, that we did last
previously?
time, previously.
I don't recall off the top of my head, sorry.
I don't think it was the other side.
Yeah, I think it was in like, cows and
Yeah, that part.
Oracle, that area.
yeah, so the whole from memory, I'm just having a look now, from the whole area of that, or Waitai Street and that is proposed to be 40,
It already has.
and it's already 40, isn't it? Yeah.
It seems high.
So do we support?
And that was dropped last year, but as I said, it hasn't had any effect. And people are still speeding through there and causing issues.
Yeah, and you have these particular things about Avondale where it's being, you're between those main roads and and some of them are quite long and straight.
Yeah.
It needs, and I think we all agree that it needs traffic calming to be effective. So I think if we could say we support the proposed changes, if augmented by,
Well, they're not really changes.
well, so we support the current,
Oh, but on the map though, is it wider than that?
no, I don't know what specific streets,
Because if Inland Place, Twyman Place and stuff like that are part of it, then it's not the whole of Avondale that's done.
so at the
There
moment,
was only parts of it between one road and another that was done.
Yeah.
Previously, this is to incorporate the wider area.
Both sides of Reeds.
So I suppose we are,
Yeah.
the board,
So it's
we are
all-
supporting the proposed.
so it's all the roads between Wainoni, Breezes and Avondale, with a few, apart from the ones that are in the red zone, will be reduced to 40.
What about behind Chisnallwood?
Behind Chisnallwood's 30.
So it should be good.
Yep.
You also mentioned that part of that is voluntary project as
Oh, that's
well.
like winding.
Yeah.
So there are like narrowings and stuff. So the old wide ones are the ones that
So
which there is like this junction, that junction are part of the.
Okay.
And then along it here as well, moving up the crossings and stuff.
Yeah. So we support the proposed changes, if augmented by adequate calming.
How far that word?
AUGMENTED by adequate calming measures. We'll just, we mentioned that.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you wanted to
Yeah.
carry it out as well
Yeah.
to see if that kind of can all be done in one parcel of work.
Next line. So the next line up in Avondale, sorry. So the section that is part of street, I don't know, streets of people should be done in tandem with,
In tandem. Full stop.
yeah, tandem full stop. Right. Avonside, this is one of the areas where I've been asked multiple times for speed limit reductions and traffic calming. There is traffic calming going on as part of RAF. And I think you can go comma along with rapid implementation of the craft improvements. Surf, craft. Yeah, next one. Bexley. Now, I've said we're sure this means Aranui to but it's best me.
Fair,
Means that,
Farnborough Street,
yeah, it's
and 100 metres of Pages Road.
yeah, yeah. It's we assume that it means Aranui towards the estuary.
Maybe you should make a note that there shouldn't be a Bexley.
Yeah, I think we're probably better off to say Bexley. So Bexley was largely
Red zone.
red zoned.
There's two houses in there.
Yeah, initially it was largely red zoned. Any changes covered by comments under, I don't know.
Maybe they are suggesting it on the streets which go to the houses.
I don't know. I don't know.
And realistically, you don't get many cars going down there.
No, you're gonna still go drive once in a while.
Bottle Lake, any particular comments on Bottle Lake?
We were approached by those people the other day from Waitai Drive about the traffic on the side of the streets.
Yeah.
But, whether that includes Tamara Park on Rossay's Road, or would that fall into Tamara Park or Queen's Park?
Queen's Park is in there, it's
Queen's
on
Park
the list,
is
but
in there
Tamara
because-
Park's not.
Because Bottle Lake and Queen's Park, the area between there with Rossay's Road is one that's come to board several times, and people have put in requests for traffic coming along Rossay's Road.
Should we cover that in Queen's Park then?
Um,
Well, I don't know, it doesn't, we can do it here, it's Canterbury, does it? So what did you want?
yeah, we'll do
is-
it in Queen's Park.
Queen's Park, all right.
Yeah.
All right, that's just nothing on Bottle Lake then. Bromley, we've put proposed changes, in line with, in the, what is it, it's crack and the, Bromley traffic plan. Brooklands,
Can't see any issues in Brooklands, it's just a small neighbourhood, but they have problem with the boy races, of course, out there on the main road, and I think we've been looking at those traffic calming measures already.
It's generally when you address that, through
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah,
that's, say issues here can be dealt with, in combination.
and that's really difficult to police anything out
Yeah.
there. By the time the police get there, everyone's gone.
We should lift the sewers for that.
Can we, in combination with proposed traffic calming. One. Broad.
The particular one, that sort of stood out to me was Horseshoe Lake Road. Horseshoe Lake Road runs through between a golf course and wetland space. And to me, I just don't understand dropping that when there's no pedestrian footpath, there's wide grass verges, if anyone needs to walk along there. Golfers are separated by a fence apart when they cross the road in the centre of it.
Yeah, we do have that issue, but
Separate street is still, that crossing limit is going to be, but the others are all protected by fences or wide verges. So to me, I'd like to see that stay as 50, because there is no residence on the majority of that street.
yeah, it doesn't, sorry, honestly, it doesn't make sense to me either.
What could you just reiterate that, Brady?
Horseshoe Lake Road.
So that's from New Brighton Road all the way through to Lake Terrace.
On land?
Yes.
There's the link that's between New Brighton Road and
Golf links.
Golf
Golf links, no?
Golf links is the other side of the golf course from my house.
Right, okay, so that's where
So you're,
the.
okay, and then we cut, what's your?
Oh,
Horseshoe Lake Road goes all the way down to.
yeah, so
not my area.
Horseshoe Lake Road to be
Oh, Horseshoe Lake Road, not Lake.
It's not Lake Terrace, Lake Terrace is already in.
Ah, gotcha, that makes more sense.
There's so many more things. Get this on the map. Yes. All right.
So you're talking about the whole of Horseshoe Lake?
Is it in the
Yeah, it's wide road, makes sense.
yeah, Horseshoe Lake Road, here we go, so the section in this one, the section from Broomfield Terrace, so the section between or just before Tompkins Lane, going past Stanmore Gardens, up to Horseshoe Lake Road, of Broomfield Terrace is proposed to be 30. But I guess we did it. That's not Horseshoe Lake Road though.
No, Horseshoe Lake Road is.
So Horseshoe Lake Road from New Brighton Road to The intersection of Broomfield Terrace is proposed to be 30.
Yeah, no, I think it's also advocate for it to be 50 as well.
Well, I don't have a view. Tim, you will.
There are a lot of cars parked here sometimes, though, both sides of the road. Because you've got the retirement village. People visit me there.
Oh, it's just on the way to Palms, right? Oh, yeah, I know.
There's a dog park down there. A lot of people go to the dog park.
Which is off street parking.
Yeah.
But do 30 up to Broomfield and change it to 50? Is that too many? Is that too much of a change?
You could change, you could have that section at 40. You could have Horseshoe Lake Road from New Brighton Road to Broomfield Terrace at 40 instead of.
A large amount of feedback was also around the chopping and change of speeds everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is why keeping it a standard thing between, you've got 50 on the road, 50 on Lake Terrace Road. And then the whole joining section between that. And Broomfield Terrace.
Why don't we just leave that at 50 then? No, Joe?
Yeah, because
One thing that was on one of the comments was about Parnwell Street. And of course, we had the deputation come to board for about traffic safety initiatives and the speeding around there. I don't know whether we asked that it be considered for traffic calming or
Yeah.
I thought it was possible to do that. What they're asking.
At the
I don't
moment,
know.
on this traffic plan, that
That's not
for
the,
the first 3 years implementation, it's not on the plan.
no, but it's something that we need to consider.
So just for your information, I did receive an email from the resident on Monday.
Yeah.
About this, and I advised her to make a submission herself.
Okay.
Because what she's asking the board is separate to this. I know if we were advised of that prior to this plan, then it could have been considered or implemented, but we'll probably have to wait till the next
So-
stage.
Yeah, okay.
It's on the plan to be to remain 50, just, so we can make a note around, traffic, around safety, you can say we have safety concerns regarding Parnell Street. Yeah, and,
Hang on, back up.
oh, you can do, you got more.
The section of Broomfield Terrace, we were just saying before, that's 40. I actually don't understand why that section's left at a different speed when that's where a lot of kids get out of their cars to go to that.
Which prevents?
So behind the park, that section through.
Oh, so which, sorry,
Yeah, no, that's down the side.
Broomfield,
So Broomfield, so you've got Horseshoe Lake Road, and the section goes 30 along to where Stratton Gardens is, and then it changes back to 40. That
You
section,
still use that.
yeah, at the moment. There's a lot of parking around there, particularly for sports games.
Oh, it should be 30.
So changing that to actually less. So you'll change for once
So you're
What's-
saying Broomfield Terrace,
to be 30.
To New Brighton Road.
Horseshoe Lake Road to New Brighton Road,
What's the other street called?
Kingsford.
Kingsford, and bit of Kingsford. So the red zone, but. And Broomfield.
that one Kings.
Kingsford Street.
And Broomfield.
So you're saying that it's there, and it's just
Is
a
that right?
section
Yeah.
here. To keep
Broomfield
that,
Terrace
so
and
to put
Kingsford.
that all.
Yeah.
Should be reduced to 30k here.
Yeah.
That's on it's the attachment on the side. So in the actual consultation, these bits down here, if you jump into there, it gets you. It loads up, so you still don't see. Ours is the only one that's not on that.
A lot of people.
And that's
don't
a higher
go
resolution
onto
one.
the bottom
It's a bit
line,
fiddly, but
go
they-
straight through
like-
resource
Yeah,
gains.
and it's pretty big, there, lots of cars.
Yeah.
You just need to remember what colours are.
So it's currently staying at 50. And it was being reduced.
No, yes, been. So the next one was Lakewood Drive, remained at 50. It's a wide road. There's plenty of parking.
Hold on a second.
Runs between Lake Terrace and Billet Road.
So you get to the intersection of Travis and Burwood.
Oh, that road,
Where the end used to live.
Yep. That one's kind of familiar. Well, anybody else have any comments on that?
I support that, and all the cul-de-sacs that run off in that area, they should not be affected. They're more or less having restriction put on them and that's not required, because you can't pick up speed down there anyway.
Well, I guess,
Those little cul-de-sacs, you're just going home through there and it's,
so,
there's no point changing anything in it.
yeah, I mean, I guess if I lived on a cul-de-sac, I'd be quite happy for it to be 30.
It's for penalising some idiot.
Well, that's the thing, if you go 60,
Yeah, but it's irrelevant really, in those kind of areas, it's extra work for.
if you drive into a cul-de-sac at 60 Ks, if it's at a 30 K limit, you lose your license. You know, and it's like often we like, I mean, if I think of the example of this is in a cul-de-sac, see you later, Chris. Yeah, he's had enough. If you drive into like Hay Street, where we have people come off Linwood Ave into Hay Street, the biggest issue we have is how fast people come into it. So I don't know what this is in Burwood, isn't it? Do you have any?
I think having them at 30 means everything's the same apart from what's changed. So
They're not all planned to be 30, only every 1 in 4.
So what's the sorry? I'm just
Looking at that, there's a whole lot of cul-de-sacs of all of those, and only about 4 of them are highlighted. So the rest of them,
so I'm having a look at the. I'm just trying to orient myself.
Different maps, because one shows them all as big.
or they might be just driveways.
So is it that one?
Oh, they might be private lanes.
Yeah.
That'll be
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so I think they're all proposed to be the same.
Maps orientated really weird. It doesn't.
It is.
Yeah, you think you're in one spot, because we're totally
Oh,
different.
okay, here we go.
probably build there.
Alright,
And what are you?
Stour Drive, Brooker Ave. Will be reduced to 50. What is it in keeping with that area? That's the red zone where they have a lot of traffic issues.
Yeah, I can see why they kept it at 58, but because people abuse it, having a penalty makes it easier.
And the residents association were looking to come to the board around discussions I've had with residents of speeding and disruptive behaviour in that area.
alright, is this the last of the Burwoods?
Well, close, I think. Yes.
Alright, thank you very much. Any other Burwoods? No, alright, well, Dellington.
We like it.
Yeah, I think that represents what the community had asked for.
Yep, especially preschool.
Linwood, so that's, I think, yeah, I'm happy to support that. So this is North Linwood, so
Oh, yeah, it's
we're
windy.
that, so and it's in that triangle between Woodham Road and Linwood Ave and Buckley's Road. Those streets, they need a bit of calming, but some of that's starting to be done. Mighty Ho shouldn't really be in there, should it? Right, yeah. Marshland, I remember saying something. So the issue with Marshland is there's only the bit that I think you're referring to is NZTA, not Greg, that bit lead up it is NZTA, not council. So, and on the map for some reason it was red because they decided to make the colour for the NZTA road the same as the colour for 20 kilometres down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that section there from say Highway 74 down to outside the super centre there is properly controlled by NZTA.
What street is it?
Marshall Road.
I don't know the answer to that.
Most road.
I was wondering if if the Lower Sticks Road was in that, but it's not, Lower Sticks Road is actually Bottle Lake, according to that map,
Oh,
so maybe we need to go back to Bottle Lake.
did you want something particular for that?
Well, I more or less kind of support that.
What, because the residents have asked for,
One's so Marshall anyway.
out there have asked for speed limits.
Well, it's Spencerville they have,
Mm,
but going along Lower Sticks Road, the actual speed limit is too high at the moment, really.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going out there at night time when there's no lights or anything.
oh, so we can say we support the proposed changes. And,
Yeah.
Okay, so we do a motion to put like the,
Marshall, I don't think we have, it's good.
so
We go.
we support the
Yeah.
proposed. changes.
Bridge Marshall, I think
So then I'll need to add Bottle Lake back in.
Yeah, sorry, Cindy,
Just bear with me for 1 second.
not unless we include that with Spencerville.
Okay, so what are we saying, Joe, that we support them?
Well, there'll be people that aren't happy that
Mm.
that road's been reduced in speed, but really it is quite a high limit at the moment.
So what's the feedback?
Yeah, I haven't had any feedback on it.
So we support the proposed changes on Lower Sticks Road?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Marshall, New Brighton, so this covers the whole Brighton area. So rather than just repeat it, I mean, we can copy and paste to the appropriate area if we think we need to, but so anyway, so these streets should remain indicative now. So so the north-south streets on the Brighton Peninsula, so what about Pine Ave? So I guess,
I think it's a discussion that they need to have further with the community. Because it's been kind of an overwhelming response to lowering it.
so noting that we have said that there needs to be further discussion with the community higher up, if there's going to be, what areas would we prioritise remaining at 50K?
Well, you've got,
Disagree with all,
pardon?
or is it disagree with all?
Sorry?
Disagree with all the proposed changes.
Well, most of it, the only changes that should be being made is ones outside the school zones and the preschools and everything where it's necessary. And someone suggested, or a couple of people suggested outside the surf clubs as well on Marine Parade.
So, but if we're going to, if we're going to accept the premise of the changes and we're going to prioritise areas that we wanted to remain at 50 for the purpose of the discussion and the submission, what do you think of the prioritising those north-south streets to remain at 50? Do you think that's a reasonable? So I think it's a reasonable argument to
There are
make.
parts of Marine Parade which probably need traffic calming in a couple of areas where people have requested it in the past, but the majority of it should stay at 50. And all of those north-south, really important to keep that flow of traffic going.
What about Pine Ave? Because
Pine Ave was
There's too many,
something,
there's too many
it's
breaks.
lots and lots of breaks. You can't really get up to speed because of all the corners and the
Yeah.
breaks and everything.
and then I don't know how to describe that, but big bit of Union Street, but
Where it wraps around, you know,
It goes on to Alice Tewes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Keys Road, The other one that was mentioned was the Marriott's, but that's 40, I think.
Well, Barry should remain at 50,
It's proposed to be 40.
40, yeah,
Yeah, so you think that should be,
yeah.
what do you think, Alex?
I think around the school, there's a good barrier that should be 30 or 40, sorry. But I do agree that some parts of barrier.
So can you specify which parts of Ballarat you'd like to be 50?
I think that would be up to the residents to decide.
Yeah, but given we having,
Alex, can you
so given that we have to make the submission to the council, and we're already saying good of the community. So I think that, so there's a political philosopher called Edmund Burke who says that you don't, as a representative, you don't just owe your people who elect you your vote. You know, it's just
I had to say.
they owe, you also owe them your wisdom, and so we're in a situation now where, although the consultation process might not have been ideal, we need to make a
Well, both, Eastern Drive. So Eastern Drive and Knocking Horse Road in the past, the residents have requested traffic calming to stop people going over 50. And that is still what they would like to see.
So Waimori,
Eastern Drive, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so, I felt like, so we can say, I just wanted to finish off the bit around Ballarat. Is there, at what point what section of Ballarat would you want to be?
I don't think it's good there.
Well, I think it's only through school hours that there should be a reduction in crime, just.
Sorry, there is already a school zone.
There's already.
Hours.
It's all done,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think the whole of Barry at 50 would be safe.
Yeah, okay, can you put under the bullet point of Keys Road? This Ballarat,
So what about Boho?
And Eastern Drive.
to remain at 50,
So Bohem's on the north south,
yeah, but
It's a main-ish road though.
that's on east.
Yeah, but
Does also have school, quite a lot of school traffic across the road.
so the proposal for Boho is,
The street should remain. Yeah, so Bogle Road is one that should remain at 50. But when it comes up to the roundabout, that's when traffic calming needs to be put in place around the roundabout area and onto Rookwood, Bogle, Keys.
yeah, that round,
Because there's a lot of school drop off
Yeah.
around that area. And kids trying to cross the roads. The Bogle Road has pedestrian crossing, but the other parts there don't.
I mean, I'm not that comfortable around with the Bow Hill Road remaining at 50. Because of all the complications, but.
I think traffic calming measures are really important there, but in the time being when we don't have them, especially around the area of the school, heading into the roundabout, we have so many school children. Like we all agreed on the principle that it is really important around schools and areas like that to introduce traffic and speed reductions. I think Bogle Road is one of those streets where it is quite important. If you live on Bogle Road and you're driving 30 kilometres an hour, that's why I suggested quite a lot of the roads that are up on the board now to remain at 50, because once you hit them, then you go back to the normal pace of traffic. So it's just that first bit where there are lots of school children, shops and roundabouts where there are quite a lot of high pedestrian traffic as well.
So in the other ones, so Beach Road, that section from Frost.
Cross Road to Britannia Street.
Yeah, Frost to essentially to Britannia Street being 50, and then it's that Marine Parade, but they get so busy.
It's that corner.
Yeah.
That corner, right-hand corner, trying to manoeuvre around that at a high speed, and it's next to the playground and the surf club.
Yeah, it's
So just just making sure that people can actually,
Yeah, I suggested that, because that sounds about right. From Britannia being third.
just, I think there is already signs there, is there, Alex, just to slow down around the corner?
That's saying slow down, but I think it would
Yeah,
be
so it's
good.
more or less the playground and.
It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's really like just, yeah, basic, it makes complete sense, I think, to have. That's the area that you want to protect.
So just for clarification, the plan itself at the moment, does it suggest the whole of Beach Road being 30?
And the whole of Marine Parade.
Yeah, so I think we need to make it, like I've got up there, 50 into Bower, and then again to Britannia. And then that Britannia onwards to Pandora is just that corner. And I think that should be 30, because we've got lots of kids running from the park, them getting out of their cars and walking across the road to get to the beach. Especially in summer, we've got those big high volume of pedestrians. So I think if we make it 50 up until Britannia to Pandora.
And that, also the slow speed, just around the surf clubs on Marine
Oh,
Parade.
Marine Parade, yeah, I mean, although one of the bits of, like, I'm not arguing with it, but one of the bits of feedback you do get is people are like, well, why does it change all the time?
Yeah, and I'm thinking if I'm driving at 50 down Beach Road and it changes to 30 and I don't look.
But there's quite a gap between the surf clubs, right? It's what, about at least a kilometre each.
I think it's 1
Yeah, but
kilometre between each.
I think Marine Parade's around about 4 or 5 kilometres
Yeah,
long, so there's
So,
quite a stretch.
I guess you just say, and also outside, the surf clubs. And that's under the Marine Parade, but sorry,
And then the other one I raised
hold
was.
on.
Yeah.
No, under the
The-
Marine Parade, which is,
Just for consideration being given to outside the civilized saving clubs.
Have one word?
Civilized saving, life saving is one word.
Yeah.
Life.
well, plural of life, so that probably is a correct plural. Anyway, and there's an additional thing was we need to talk about the bridge.
The other one I just want to raise as well is Bridge Street. That came up, so they were suggesting as well that quite a lot. I think we should keep it 70 until the end of the bridge, and then 50 where the 50 sign already is, and then probably from Cromer Place 30, and that just covers the common ground during cafe and all those areas where we've seen quite a lot of development and quite a lot of people coming in as well.
I think it's too many.
Well, it's already 70 to 50 now, it's just adding in a 30 towards the roundabout. Rather than 30 the whole,
Well,
Yeah,
will be, which they've suggested.
I don't think staff are going to like it, eh? It's
Well,
changed.
work is being
it's
done
council that makes the decision.
to look at the roundabout safety, isn't it? So maybe that could be included in the work being done on the roundabout at the moment for traffic coming and to make it safer for the school kids.
Well, I think we can put in under that bullet point, we can say should be done in conjunction with safety improvements to the round.
So instead of lowering it the whole way like we proposed, that's. What's that?
All right, okay, is that the new item done?
Well, ideally, it would be all the streets remain apart from
Well, no,
certain little areas outside school.
Yeah. All right,
Do you think you really need the 50 in that drop down?
As in 70 to 30.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't like the 70, 50, 30, it's because that's been brought up in the past about the change.
I think this isn't, this
I don't know
is
the
from
road.
engineer, so basically at 70K, 'cause it's the state highway.
Yep.
And coming off that 70K, I don't think they can make it 70 up Bridge Street because there's quite a lot of residential properties. So that would be increasing the speed limit rather than decreasing it. So that point that I made there is actually maintaining the status quo speed limit. So it's not lowering it, it's just, otherwise we'd have to increase it to 70, which I don't think.
Yeah, I don't, can't picture that on a road. so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like if we presented this to council and everything, they would look and go, oh yeah, 50 is okay for all of that, we can do 30 everywhere else, but I've heard overwhelmingly that no one wants it. So to represent the people, and to actually put it in place, why bother changing it, why spend the money? The money could go further towards repairs which are needed our side.
Yeah, I think we've sort of canvassed the general issue. We can discuss it a bit more.
Yeah,
before we-
so how can we just get that across?
Well,
That it's not just these streets, it's
well,
an overwhelming opposition to it.
well, I guess there's, well, can we come back to that issue like at the end, right, and work through the detail? So what, we scroll down, so North New Brighton, I've just said, see above,
Oh, yeah.
I've just, and Parklands, do you have?
And one more on the Brighton one was, what you guys' thoughts on Travis Road from Frost through to Barrow,
Frosts, that's,
from that, Anzac Drive corner.
Oh, that's 40, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, no, that-
where's that, sorry, Frosts to Bower? Oh, yes, by the school. It's already 40 during school time.
Yeah, it's already 40 through school drive. Yeah.
Yeah, Frost got reduced about 2 years
No,
ago.
not saying Frost, Travis Road is talking about.
Yeah, just
Oh,
from the
right,
roundabout to about between the roundabouts, I think, Greg's
Okay,
raising.
I'm,
Yeah.
Yeah, so the other thing that we haven't brought in with the north-south roads is Palmer's and what's the next one, Frost called Baker. There's Palmer's and Baker are quite long straight streets as well.
okay, well, let's do one of those at a time. Palmer's between Brighton Road and Bower Ave. Yeah, I'm not, it's not really in the same, it's not really, Palmer's isn't really in the same category as those other ones.
A lot of people use it, they go from Bowhill Road into Palmer's onto New Brighton.
What's it proposed to be?
30.
And so if we talk about, so we go Palmer's, any thoughts on that, Alex?
Are you agreeing with 30?
No, I'm saying it should have been.
I would say the people in Farmers Road agreeing with Susan.
Spent $2 million making that slow that road.
I'm not 100%.
What is it now?
That's just normal, it's just 50.
I'm just looking and thinking about all the side streets and long driveways. I'm not 100% sure about but looking at all those driveways and stuff and people turning out, I think.
And you see the board's previously spent money slowing it down. So it really goes further towards achieving that end and discouraging people from using, because if you set that at 30 and Bower Ave remains at 50, people are more likely to use Bower Ave, which achieves the goal that the board has spent goodness knows how much money trying to achieve. What was the other one?
Travis Road, and the other one was New Brighton Road.
Baker Street,
Baker Street.
yeah, Baker's the next one along.
Uh,
Baker Street is quieter than Palmer's.
Yeah, Baker,
They've covered.
sorry, so Baker seems to be the same, in the same category as Palmer's, so, but going back to Greg.
It was Travis Road originally, which like,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
so Travis outside school, my thought about that, and is that it's the school, the school isn't just used during school hours. And it is and there are a lot of people coming in and out of that, and it's a park, so having it 40 Ks makes
In those shops.
in those shops.
I think personally, because I go to the gym there, well, I try to, I don't really.
As you can tell.
I mean, those opening hours, I think 5 AM to 9 PM, so I mean, turning out on Travis Road and stuff like that, I think there are quite a lot of, like, especially in winter with the hockey from the school turfs, and the sports that are played from the schools down there, including basketball at the school and the shops, the BP, the mechanics, I think 40 K down Travis Road is unreasonable, because it's just a community hub with lots of people.
Yeah.
And then you have the 70 K patch anyway.
the other one was New Brighton Road through the red zone. Dropped to 40 and 30.
Yeah,
Why?
I,
Well, it should be 50. Don't drop that.
Already on New Brighton Road?
I don't see why it's been reduced.
No.
Oh, yeah, sure. Running roads there, Joe.
Hey, yeah,
Yeah.
keep your Brighton
So
Road.
just to clarify, are we including Travis Road between Frost and Ballard
Oh.
or not?
No, we're
I
taking that,
think
Okay, so we're agreeing with that.
we're agreeing with it, yeah,
New
and then
Brighton Road,
New Brighton Road through the red zone,
well, in full should be 50.
New Brighton Road,
It's a main connector road.
Yeah, so
New Brighton Road,
About Rawson Street then,
what's it?
Rawson Street, because it's gonna be part of it.
You can't do.
Oh,
I'm slow
wait
down
till they-
there.
in time.
That Albion's too dangerous.
Yeah.
Any others in the wider Brighton area?
I just really want to emphasise the points that we've got there, like Keys Road, Estuary Road, Rocking Hills Road, Brent Parade, Barra, Aston Drive are very important thoroughfares.
Yeah,
And-
and Pacific Street.
Yeah, or Pacific Road, but. Why Pacific Road, doesn't that run parallel with Beach Road?
In Tedder Ave.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I only know Pacific Road, having friends who lived there for years. And it is, I was always amazed at how fast people drove down it.
I love you as a kid.
They did some long streets there, right? Tedder and Effingham, Pacific, they're long streets.
Yeah. And like, part of the thing is if we have the contrast between the residential streets and the more main roads, it will mean that it will encourage people to use the other roads. If we have them all at the,
I think at the moment it's all 50 and there are no real big issues. So there's kind of no, reason to change them. It's when you get to by the schools and parks and all that, that's when we have to look at changing them, but
Is it in the first tranche, that piece?
I believe it is.
It's an interesting one, eh?
Well, I mean, Tedder Ave doesn't go all the way to the end. It doesn't make.
To Effingham.
No, Tedder Ave doesn't go all the way to, because Pacific Ave goes from Marriott's all the way through to Marine Parade.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want both of those streets. But if I'm open to the idea of that Pacific Road being a 40 or something.
It's also relevant to the length of the roads as well.
It's a very wide road.
It's a very wide road, so.
Yeah,
Another point after that.
but yeah, that's part of the design for it, right? That by having a big wide road, people feel safe to drive fast. And
We couldn't
Gives you a
drive,
line of sight.
we couldn't drive fast in 1970.
well, yeah, my first car was a Morris Marina station wagon, so I couldn't drive fast.
No.
Coastal.
Yeah, my other thing I'm
So we haven't
sorry.
decided on.
Oh, yes, yeah, sorry.
So 30 or 40. It's currently proposed to be 30,
50.
50.
There's a long stretch of road. 50. That would put it there, 50.
50. Okay,
Yeah, I mean, they made those.
it should be 50. But by the way, I'd want it, but
And I just have one more.
One more?
Yeah, it's just because we've talked about Barra and Keys Road and those key sort of thoroughfares. Keys actually stops and goes on to Rookwood, so I think Rookwood as well. If you look at it on a map,
I think I did mention it before.
yeah, it should-
Continuation.
yeah, yes.
So it's currently proposed to 40.
Okay,
That's where they're parking for the school, is eh?
Yeah,
parking for school, oh,
No, it's
No.
Marriott's.
And
So
I
it's
was
part-
the other day and I was amazed how many cars were parking and went back just to walk through.
so
Amazing.
was there something you wanted there? All right, okay. Next, so we'll just discuss all the Brighton area and Parklands. Was there anything about Parklands?
It looked good to me.
I don't think there was anything in
Well,
principles there.
didn't they take Parklands off it?
Yeah, it looked like that.
It's not in the,
Tranche.
it's not in tranche one,
It's still there.
but it's still in the long term
Long term.
proposal over
And I
there.
think there was work being done about, around the school area, school zones and stuff, around Parklands, so
we can
I
ju-
think that has been done, or it's been removed.
We-
If you look at the brochure, I think they removed it
Yeah.
at this stage.
So if we say more work needs to be done with the Parklands community before the initially proposed changes are implemented.
But it's good, it's a good subdivision, you've got two main roads and then a little bit more ones, so that's great.
That's the thing, it does make it, and that's the thing about the subdivisions and like in the, not very old, but in our ward where they're quite self-contained between main roads.
Yeah.
And that's the shape of the coastal wood does make it
Yeah,
particularly difficult.
you can't go around
Yes.
past the coastal wood, you've got to go that way and that's it.
Preston's, which is not actually proposed for any changes. Apart from, Preston's, one of the Preston subdivisions is gonna be, it's gonna be 40, right? But the other one currently is,
Preston's, so the north side of Preston's Road is currently 40 and it's proposed already that what is expected, I believe, that Preston Park, which is south of Preston Road, is changing
40 as
to
well.
40 as well. It's currently 50. I think mostly that happened.
Yeah.
So support it.
the board's,
Murray Hill Road's 50.
That's good.
Yeah, there'll be a lot more houses along this and which is a really
Queen's Park,
I say it's Parklands.
so-
Well, Queen's Park, I was going to bring up Ross
Oh,
Angus
just
Road.
right.
It's not down for any changes in this one. But we've had a lot of feedback over the years about the speeding down that road. And they've got little bollards going along between
what's
the
how do you
forest,
spell
and they
that?
keep getting wiped out. Rossay, ROTHESAY.
Yeah.
Pardon?
It's with the orange line, sorry, not the orange line, that bus goes down in park,
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, yeah, on the street, yeah.
And it's not that wide, is it?
No,
It's not as wide as a lot of those other,
no, but they have asked for traffic calming first.
Sure have.
So what?
And they've got they've got one of those signs up there, flashes with the speed limit.
So you say 40?
so currently Rothesay is proposed to be 30 in the long sit,
I was mean 30.
yeah.
Yeah, I think people won't like that, but I think also it would be good to see traffic calming there, a way to just slow down some of the speeders.
Yeah, I guess if you're gonna have traffic calming to slow people down to a speed, you might as well set the speed limit at that speed.
Was it?
So if if you're gonna change, I would suggest
40.
that 40, so from the end of Rothesay to Aston. Because
Yeah, I think people would be quite happy with that, but you know, again, it's not going to actually stop the speeders.
I think we can put in combination with traffic calming.
Is Rothesay a road or a street?
Right.
And did I spell it right?
Got an E between
That's got
the
an E.
H and the,
After the H.
Isn't it two parts?
Yeah.
No, you're thinking of. Sorry, I can't read on this. Okay, Shirley, is there anything on Shirley?
Surely not.
I think we're lucky with Shirley, the way it's designed.
We're just the same with Fairway Park, because that fall under shooting.
Oh, probably, yes, yeah, yeah, would do.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so that would be an area that's again similar to Preston, wide roads. I think 40 is a realistic speed through there
Rather than 30.
rather than
Is that
30.
correct? Fairway Park?
Correct.
Fairway Park, Fairway Park area, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, I don't know that area at all.
It just seems odd that some of them are 40 and some are 30 when they're very similar
So,
shapes.
I mean, yeah. So you think it should be 40?
Would be good to talk to staff, and get their reasoning.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, okay, that's fine. South New Brighton, Senior Brighton, South Shore, Senior Brighton, Spencerville,
Don't know.
the proposed, that we've already done this.
I thought that might come under.
Oh, yeah, so they're proposing those streets in Spencerville to be,
So as Shell,
yes.
we put just a notice about retaining it at 50, but also they would like to see some traffic calming. You should put in place to stop people going over 50.
sorry, we're talking about two things that, so with the South Shore, we've already already made comments on those
About
above.
Horse Road, do we put traffic calming?
Well, we can just say, see New Brighton, in the next line, see, Rocking Horse Road. Requires traffic calming.
Yeah, and it's just purely to stop people from going over 50. Some people bring down over 80.
It's Spencerville. Is
Looks reasonable.
it looks perfectly reasonable. Yeah.
But it's a simple one, isn't it?
And the same as this.
So,
Oh, here's Travis. I think Travis, they must just mean the subdivision, right?
Travis County.
Travis County.
There's nothing in Travis County.
Not in the initial tranche, no.
No, but it's pretty simple way. That's
It's just a,
all windy little roads.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's windy, though. They support Travis County.
Waimari Beach is in Brighton, Wainoni. So,
In Waimari Beach, they've asked for traffic calming
oh, okay, seeing Brighton and then you can,
on Anzac Drive.
traffic coming on Anzac Drive,
I mean, not Anzac, Aston Drive.
Aston Drive.
They were saying like as you get into Aston Drive, halfway down and one at the end.
Alright, cool. And Wainoni. The thing about Bickerton, Ottawa and Cuffs is they are straight roads and very wide, and unless there's going to be significant speed cushions are introduced, it doesn't seem that it's really achievable to reduce. So just my proposal is that we set it to 40, which is still a neighbourhood speed rather than 30, unless they're going to put in traffic cushions. And then Jackie, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I'm happy with Thurston.
And Wilston, just that, and the board's already asked this of NZTA, but that Palanuris should be at 50 as the residence level. Yeah, because when you come off and you're heading into Rutherford Street, what happens?
Yeah.
So what happens is you hit that intersection, and then you've got the bridge not that long after. And if you only start slowing down when you cross Ferry Road, you're still going at 60 kilometres an hour when you hit the bridge.
You're right, I am.
Yeah. One is, all right, so we've gone through the detail. I think that we've done a fairly good job of capturing the diversity while reaching a kind of a general conclusion. So before I reintroduce standing orders, is there anything else we need to kind of process?
One of the other concerns highlighted was that people will get frustrated and will be a bit of road rage happening for a while. That
it just comes with the territory. And the other thing that I noticed on the actual council, handouts and everything was that the fire, or emergency fees have said that their engines are only allowed to go the maximum of 25 over the speed limit. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think, I mean, that can be fixed with a policy change on their part. Like I don't think it's a restriction. I mean, like St. John is very strongly supported the whole proposal.
It's not an emergency, that 25, is it?
Huh?
It's not an emergency, that 25, is it?
Why would they be going 25 over the speed limit if it's not an emergency?
No, what I'm saying is if it's an emergency, it can be more than 20.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, I see.
I think,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Pleasant ambulance can go faster, but because of the size of the fire appliances,
Okay.
they're only allowed 25.
Oh,
over.
okay, I see, yeah.
Yeah, so that's set under certain assumptions, right? So if those change, then they should review their policy. It's not a statutory thing, but it's just trying not to run into people. So
It's interesting, right?
it is interesting. I didn't know that either. All right.
And you said before you come back, one of Joe's points to cover what it was now there.
Yeah, I mean, it's if anybody wants to raise.
Oh, the point was, it was overwhelming opposition. And that, that, like, I wouldn't be doing my job properly if I didn't represent what people were telling me, and that they're really opposed to the 15 blanket.
Yeah, and I although I think that the outcomes will be much better than what people think, I do understand that, particularly in coastal with the shape and why I have supported changing those vertical streets. Otherwise, but yeah, people feel.
But to not just change them, to actually get the discussion first with people, and then we can make a decision based on the proper feedback and where the problem areas are, because there could be areas that we're unaware of that do need some reductions.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a value judgment, I think, but the approach of the stemming from what NZTA has directed is to say, if we take a blanket approach and prioritize safety, that the safety's gone to the top, and then if there are other changes, if we need to improve flow through or whatever, then we can do that, as opposed to prioritizing the moving quickly. It's so yeah, that's the way that the policy settings that we're now operating under have been inverted.
Yeah.
So
I've been quite interested in all of this happening too, because I've just got back from Europe and of course driven over there, and it's crazy. And we're going through like 6 lanes wide at 70 through the middle of the city, and it just motorbikes all around you, and it works as well. You don't see too many.
it sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
I've been.
So I've been driving on the streets when we get back here thinking, oh my God, it's so good here, and everything's pretty good.
Yeah. I've been to India where the lines on the road don't really make any difference, except at intersections when everybody is actually stopped, which isn't very often. Like it's just so quiet in comparison. But I really enjoyed myself.
Well, I've been to Geraldine.
Yeah. My wife is really keen for me to go to that cafe.
I'm with Joe. I've had the overwhelming feedback from people that they don't want the changes, and I do believe that we do need to have something like that genuinely written in there.
If we go up.
Yeah.
While we can still understand the principles of it, the feedback from the public that we've both received has been heavily against.
So I think, so we go, where is it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the board wishes to note here, that, fee reductions are controversial within some sectors of the community, and the rationale then is not one understood. If you, after that sentence, we can say, elected members, elected community board members, I should say, community board members, have, received,
Large opposition.
and well, I don't know if we all have, so elected members have received, significant, significant opposition, and from, I think it's fair to say in the Burwood and Coastal wards.
I have written another side of that moment.
Yeah, I think that can be a full. So, are you all right with that?
Yep.
So, it's planned to fix a large number of people, and whatever the merits may or may not be, it would have been better to have a more thorough consultation. Apart from reducing speed outside school density, there's considerable diversity of opinion.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh. Sorry, I'm just not
That's
sure
all right.
about the sentence with saying that the community don't understand the rationale, because it kind of like the community do kind of understand the rationale behind it.
I think we can. I don't mind changing that.
Yeah.
I can see.
They can say they disagree with the rationale.
Well, the reason, so, I think just take and the rationale have not been well communicated. Or just take out that
Well, there's a
clause.
lot of information in the actual leaflet that's online.
Yes, there is. But
And I
That does
think
right.
if the people read it,
it does,
they understand.
yeah. It reminds me of, you ever watched Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Where they,
Can't say I have.
you haven't, you're not a man.
They were born.
I can tell you.
Oh my, no, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's these aliens, the Vogon instructors who have decided that they're going to put a galactic highway through Earth. And when people complain, they're like, oh, how come we didn't know? They're like, oh, well, it's been in there's a notice at the Galactic Council, at Omicron PCI Act, whatever you should have known. And so sometimes it does feel like a bit like that. And we can, I'm not saying that the council doesn't go to efforts to communicate. It's just the information's only when you're often only then when you're looking for it.
Oh, totally.
Anyway, so is that
What about that last, there's considerable diversity in opinion? Is that okay with people?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
there's a lot of support around some of the area, which
Yeah,
we've already,
yeah.
the ones we've already discussed
Yeah,
previously.
yeah.
So that's quite a bit.
and
Bear
that's
in mind, the ones who don't like it are the loudest voices.
as I think we all know that loud voices of disagreement, voices of disagreement are often louder than voices of approval. And that's just part of what we have to balance when we're making decisions. But also we do have a duty as elected, representatives, even if we don't necessarily agree with opinions to pay, have regard to them. But when the council does consultation, it's not a referendum, but you have to, the council has to have regard, and we do it, we have to have regard, like that our decisions affect people, the people who are elect and don't elect us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And last night I went to the Bridge Hub AGM and they had Simon speaking about this safe streets kind of thing as well. And there was support when he explained.
so Simon King,
From some of them here.
Yeah.
And, and so I can see that there is support for some of these things, but the majority that would receive is against it.
and this will be the second where I quote today. Keith Holyoke, used to say, "Tell the people, trust the people." And you're trying to take. When you're trying to make positive change, you've got to try and take community with you, like and it's not simply about doing everything 100% that people want, or just imposing your will by iron fist, like this, that,
Yeah,
neither of
what
those things.
they've not to us.
Yes,
So you went to the AGM. That means we've been on the board for a
so,
year.
so, and,
And I went to speak yesterday as well.
so I am going to now move that we apply standing orders again. That we resume standing orders, I should say. So
I'll second it.
seconded by Tim. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. And now I'm going to move that the community board prepares submission on behalf of the board on the draft safe at speed plan. 2, notes that the consultation, given the consultation timetable, the submission committee exercises delegated authority to complete and lodge a submission on behalf of the board. Would someone like to second that?
Yep.
Seconded by Tim. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. All right, thank you, everybody.
And
That
can we
was,
speak to this?
we can, we've already passed it, but you are welcome to speak to it, because I rushed into that.
Sorry, so that
No, no.
should have started at the
No,
beginning.
with the hearing, like, go to the hearing,
Oh,
The board general.
so,
so the board
so
goes to
I,
the
yeah,
hearing. and-
so I would usually speak on behalf of the board for the submissions, like I am for the next one that I'm doing, I think is a greater
Encouraging
process.
to come along.
We've got a couple of.
Yes, the board is, although it's at the discretion of the whoever's the chair of the panel is, board members are always welcome to join me if you want.
Because I actually thought like Jackie was the chair of the subcommittee for the
No, I-
submittance and I was deputy.
No, I don't, or we can we discuss this
Later,
offline?
yeah.
Just the what happened, it was we can come back to that. Can we-
We made an agreement.
So close the meeting.
Yeah.
All right. Here, tone, te rangi mahi, o te rangi e tui nei, o papa tuanu e takataka nei, o te taio e awhine, ki ronga i a tātou TNA, Mario.